I'm in Southern California to meet Isidore Ruckel. Isidore grew up in a Romanian orphanage and didn't experience the love most of us take for granted, the love of a parent. You were born in Romania.
That is correct.
But you wound up in an orphanage at an early age.
I did. My parents took me to a hospital to be treated for my flu or cold. The doctor gave me an injection, and instead of the needles being sterilized and disinfected, it was used time after time on children after children, and I contracted polio. So my parents said, "What on earth did you do to his leg? His leg is dead, can't move it anymore." The doctor said he'd have to stay here for a couple of weeks. Once my parents left me there, they never came back. At the age of 3 years old, I was put in the hospital for the irrecoverable children and grew up there until I was 11 years old.
In the 24 years that Nicolae Ceausescu ruled Romania, many children shared Isidore's fate. Ceausescu decreed that every family must have at least 5 children or pay an extreme tax penalty. If you couldn't afford to feed 5 children, often the only option was to give some of them to one of Romania's overcrowded state orphanages. So, Izzy, you spent 8 years growing up in an orphanage. What was that like?
There are moments where you wonder, am I going to survive this? None of us were taken outside.
No sunlight?
No sunlight.
Looking around at where we are, playground, the trees, the grass.
We do not have anything like
Nothing
this.
close to it.
No. I wanted to show you this video so you could actually see it for yourself, what my life in the institution was in Romania.
I mean, even the building from the outside looks intimidating.
When you walk into the building, it smelled nothing but soaked urine and feces.
Oh, my goodness gracious. About how many kids can you think in that orphanage?
It would be about 400, 500 children.
400 or 500 children,
Yeah.
and not nearly enough people to look after
No.
them. Why are these children rocking back and forth?
Because children were never held as infants, and they were developing ways to nurture themselves, and rocking back and forth was one of the ways.
You experienced this.
I used to rock back and forth for a long time, and I grew out of that eventually.
Who was that kid?
That was me. That was me in 1990. I had more opportunity than others. I had a worker named Onisha, and I actually still have her picture. And I will never forget this woman. She was one of the most amazing workers that worked there. Onisha took me home for one night. I forgot about the institution. My experience at home was the greatest gift. She cared for me like I was her son. From that moment on, other workers saw my potential. Okay, I want to take him home too. And from there, it just gradually grew till I went home with almost the entire staff that worked there. It's because of them that I learned how to love, how to have compassion, how to care, how to have sympathy. I mean, I had never done that before. I never could hug someone.
Did you see this happen with any other kids?
No. I was very fortunate and lucky, and because of their love, I believe I was able to grow and develop a lot better than others.
So how did you get out of this orphanage?
And these workers called out my name and another boy's name, Ciprian. Isidore and Ciprian, come here, you're going to America.
Just like that?
Just like that. And we were shocked. So they put us in a nurse's office, and I asked, who's gonna be my mom? And Marla said, I'm gonna be your mom. And I said, then that's who I want my mom to be.
So your parents are here?
Yes. Mom and Dad, come right in. Good morning.
Good morning.
I am Marlis.
How do you do? But you got your own kids. Yeah, you got 3 lovely children that you're going to bring this
Mud.
into.
All 5 of us really wanted him. I thought he was the most charming thing.
Pretty much
I've ever
hooked.
seen. Yes.
Okay. At first, life in America was new and exciting for Isidore. He went to school, played sports, and experienced something he'd never had before, a family that loved him. But then things started to go wrong. They started to go bad.
I wasn't used to the family. I didn't care for them. They were not my family. They were nothing. I hated them. All the bitterness, I held it in, and when I exploded, I took it out on them because they were the closest to me. There are times where I was so out of hand, the police had to come over.
Do you have any clue why?
I don't know. It didn't make sense to me. I mean, I couldn't understand it.
I think there were just some attachment issues as a result of, growing up without, someone coddling him and hugging him and loving on him.
When a child grows and develops, they need to be nurtured, cared, and loved. Without it, they're mentally affected.
By the time Isidore turned 16, his rejection of his adoptive family reached a boiling point. He moved out of the house, severed all ties with them. But then, when he was 18, he learned that Marlis and his adoptive sisters were in a serious car accident.
I was so devastated, and I was very scared that I was going to lose them. I had done so much damage in the family that I didn't think I was going to be accepted or even talked to. They opened the door, and I apologized from them.
I remember still to this day, he told us that he loved us. And I'm not sure that we'd ever heard that.
But that was a turnaround for him.
Mm-hmm. The beginning.
Yeah.
I wasn't willing to give up. He's my son. Whether he's my flesh and blood, it didn't matter. I refused to give up.
Once I saw that they were able to forgive me, at that moment I made it like a covenant with myself. I did not want to lose them again.
All right, so now what?
We're still doing the same thing. We have 5 more children. We've adopted them. Not
Gluttons for
California.
punishment, huh? And you, what are you doing?
I'm advocating for several things because I definitely don't want to see children, not only in Romania, but anywhere in the world, to endure what we endured. I think that the greatest gift of all was being adopted and be able to have the best family. I have to admit that.
Well,
I did realize that took me a while, but
now you do. When I was a little boy, I had all this. Trees, grass, sound of birds. I had a loving family. It is heartbreaking to learn what Isidore and so many young Romanian children had to live through. Isidore himself was lucky. He had his nursemaids and his adoptive parents. Now he dedicates himself to helping other orphans, securing for them something that was as vital to their well-being as food and shelter. Love.